Level 1. The Forbidden Geometry.
To understand the RX-7, we must dissect the Wankel engine. Imagine a common engine. It has pistons, connecting rods, a camshaft, an intake, and exhaust valves. It is a complex choreography of parts constantly fighting their own inertia. Now erase all of that. Mazda's rotary engine simplified physics to the extreme. It uses a triangular rotor that spins inside an epitrochoid-shaped housing.
As the triangle rotates, it creates 3 distinct chambers that simultaneously perform the 4 stages of combustion: intake, compression, power, and exhaust. There are no valves. The rotor's own movement opens and closes the intake and exhaust ports. It is a space and weight efficiency that feels like cheating. With just 2 rotors and a volume of 1.3 liters, Mazda could extract the power of a much heavier V8 engine. But herein lies the heresy. This mechanical simplicity hides a brutal thermal complexity. Heat in a rotary engine is not distributed. It accumulates on a single side of the housing, creating an engineering challenge that almost no one, other than Mazda, had the courage to face.
The birth of the FB and the era of lightness.
We now open the first page of our catalog, the RX-7 FB, released in 1978. At that time, the world was recovering from an oil crisis, and sports cars were becoming heavy and slow. Mazda responded with the 12A engine. The FB wasn't about raw power, it was about the Graham strategy.
Since the rotary engine was tiny, engineers managed to mount it completely behind the front axle, creating what we call a front mid-engine layout. The result was a perfect 50-50 weight distribution. The FB proved that the rotary engine was not just a laboratory experiment, but a tool capable of winning races and conquering the American market.
It had a unique sound, a metallic hum that rose in frequency until it became a scream. It wasn't just a car, it was a market test for a technology that promised to replace everything we knew. Next is the RX-7 FC from 1985. Here, Mazda looked at the Porsche 944 and decided they could do better. The FC introduced the 13B engine, and more importantly, the mass adoption of the turbocharger. It was in this generation that Mazda began to fight the limits of thermal physics. The FC was more luxurious and technological, introducing the DTSS adaptive suspension, which allowed the rear wheels to slightly change angle to assist in corners. It was the moment the RX-7 stopped being a small rebel and became a technological predator. But as power increased, the secrets of the rotary engine became more dangerous. The FD masterpiece. We reached the pinnacle of our catalog, the RX-7 FD from 1992. If automotive design were a religion, the FD would be its altar. With organic lines that seem to have been sculpted by the wind rather than tools, the FD is technically the most advanced car of its era. The secret lay in the 13 Brew engine's sequential turbo system. A small turbo for low RPMs, and a larger turbo that kicked in to ensure acceleration never stopped. It was a system of vacuum lines and hoses so complex that mechanics nicknamed it the rat's nest. But when it worked, it was poetry. The FD didn't deliver power in the linear fashion of a piston. It delivered a wave of torque that felt infinite. It was designed to be as light as possible, with drilled aluminum pedals, and a suspension structure that was a masterpiece of casting. However, this pursuit of technical perfection pushed the RX-7 to the very edge of what metal could endure. Programmed self-destruction.
Now, we must flip to the page that most enthusiasts try to ignore. The Achilles heel. Why did the world abandon the rotary engine? The answer lies in the apex seals. Think of them like piston rings, but located at the tips of the triangle. They are the only thing separating compression from disaster. In a common engine, lubrication is constant and circular.
In a rotary engine, Mazda had to design the engine to inject oil directly into the combustion chamber to lubricate the seals. Yes, the RX-7 was designed to burn oil deliberately. This creates a triple problem: high pollutant emissions, absurd fuel consumption, and a limited lifespan. If the owner wasn't an obsessive enthusiast who checked the oil at every refueling, the apex seals would fail, and the engine would lose compression instantly. The industry didn't abandon the rotary because it was inefficient on the track. It abandoned it because it demanded a level of responsibility that the average driver didn't want to have. The RX-7 was a high-maintenance engine in a world moving toward disposability. The global abandonment mystery. The death of the RX-7 was not caused by a design flaw, but by a paradigm shift. In the late 90s, environmental regulations became the triangle's #1 enemy. The rotary engine, by its very nature, has a long and cold combustion chamber, which prevents the complete burning of all hydrocarbons. To the government, it was a polluter. To insurance companies,
It was a high-performance risk.
And for Mazda, it became a symbol of stubbornness that was too expensive to maintain. The world chose the bureaucratic efficiency of modern four-cylinder engines, and eventually, the silence of electric motors. The RX-7 became an anachronism, a relic of a time when engineers could say, let's do this because it's fascinating, and not just because it makes sense on the year-end financial balance sheet.
The vacuum scream. The Mazda RX-7 is not just metal, rubber, and rotors. It is the symbol of resistance against mediocrity. It proves that engineering can be a stubborn form of art, and that the pursuit of perfection often leads to fragility. Owning or admiring an RX-7 today is not about being the fastest at a stoplight. It's about understanding the sacrifice. It's accepting that to have that 9,000 RPM scream and an agility that no other car can replicate, you must be willing to care for a heart that consumes itself with every mile. The triangle continues to spin in the minds of those who reject the obvious. If you had the opportunity to choose between the soulless eternity of a common engine or 100,000 kilometers of pure rotary heresy, what would your decision be? The RX-7 was not a mistake along the way. It was the most honest moment in automotive history. What is your level of obsession? Would you be willing to accept the curse of the apex seals for the glory of the 13B?
Leave your comment and tell us which generation in this catalog defines your vision of freedom.